through a little bit about social marketing strategies and metrics. Because it came up in Wayne's session this morning. Somebody asked, okay, if you have a blog, how do you know how many people are reading it? How do you know that the time that you're putting in? And a blog is a huge investment of time to do one well. You know, Wayne was saying he gets up at 4 in the morning and works on blog stuff till 8:30. I'm not a morning person. I don't even breathe at 4 in the morning. So that is just not happening. But I want to talk to you a little bit about strategy before we dive right into, okay, how do we do these things? So let me switch and find my strategy slide, if I can do that. So there's really 3 parts of a web marketing strategy. And what I want you to consider before you dive in today and go to what I would consider the bright, shiny, sparkling things, which is really what I go after like a moth to the flame. Many of you know from Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENFP. Any of you familiar with Myers-Briggs? So ENFP, extrovert, love to talk in front of people, N, big picture thinker, P, feeling-based, T, I don't follow process. It's the same profile as Robin Williams. So if you can imagine Robin Williams trying to stay focused on something, that's incredibly difficult. I have that problem. Social media can be the next bright, shiny thing. And you can spend forever on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. You can keep finding new stuff. I think it's important for you to have a strategy first. So what I suggest to folks is that there are 3 parts of your web marketing strategy. And the first is your website. Go ahead.
You're going to put this up on our...
I'll share it somewhere. I promise. The first is your website. Because if you succeed in having great content, if you drive people there because you tweet or use Facebook, you don't want them to go and then have terrible stuff to find. Imagine you worked really, really, really hard to invite tons of people, hundreds and hundreds of people to a party at your house. You spread that word like crazy. Come to the party, come to the party. Ask you to the party. Are you going to go to the party? And if you're really lucky, you tell Dawn, who Dawn then tells 10 friends, hey, I'm going to Joe's house for the party. Let's all go to the party. If all these people show up at your party and all you have is a bag of chips in a bowl, they are never, no, it's true, right? They're never going to go to your party again. And the bad thing is, Dawn's going to go tell 10 people, Joe Rotella's having a party, do not go to that party. You may not get a second chance. Well, that party is your website. So if you drive a ton of folks to your site, and then they get there and there's nothing of value to them, which is a lot different than what you think you may have value in, then you're really going to bomb. So make sure you have a site, no matter how you create it. WordPress is a great tool to do something like that, all the way up to content management systems. Make sure there's value when they get there. Once you do that, you can start with the internet marketing. So affiliate networks, advertising, press relations, maybe even pay-per-click. I'm not a big fan of pay-per-click. I have to be honest about that. I probably get an email once a week from somebody who has a company in China that you can pay $25 an hour to just click down your competitor's pay-per-click. So, and if Google catches them, they just send them a letter saying, don't do that, and it doesn't do any good. So, and I have some companies who I've told this to in this setting, a setting like this, and then I get emails saying, can you tell me the name of that company that'll click down my competitor's pay-per-click? Because not only do you get their ad removed off the web, but you use up their advertising budget. So I can't say it's ethical. You know, I personally would feel like you'd have bad karma if you did that, but it does exist. So I'm not a big fan of pay-per-click. But media relations is great. And setting up a Google alert, I think it was a week ago Thursday, I got an alert at like 12:30 at night saying Joe Rotella, blah, blah, blah. I went and clicked, and it was an article Bob Scott had written. And I thought, well, what did Bob Scott ever say? Why do you have my name? And he put in there my name, and he said, you know, he's a one-man think tank and doing fantastic stuff on the internet. And I would have had no clue had I not had that alert. But I work very hard with media folks to be there when they need an answer to something. So I get a lot of phone calls of, I'm on your deadline. Can you tell me this? And anybody who can point me to. So work with the media and at least have a Google alert for yourself. But the last one is this social media. And it's leveraging relationships. I don't want you to leave here thinking today that you're going to get on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, any of these places, and just shout out your message. That is not the purpose of social media. You can get there, but it's not how you start. It's not how you start. And I want to warn you about that. In terms of how to measure this was one of the questions Wayne had this morning. How do you measure impact? It's easy to measure web stuff, internet stuff, because you can measure how many people click to your site. Google Analytics is great. If you're not using any Google Analytics, try Google Analytics. It's free. Go to Google's website, look for Analytics, and there's a little video link in the lower left that you can play for 6 minutes that shows you all how Analytics works. Google Analytics has gotten to the point now where they can show you a heat map, a geographic map, that pinpoints where those hits are coming from, sometimes down to within a block. So you can really know who's visiting your site, like right down to where they're living. So again, Google Analytics is great. But social media is different because you have to measure a relationship. And size is not really a good way to measure relationships. Relationships are about influence. So somebody last night at dinner asked me how many people follow me on Twitter, and I think it's like 130, 150. I went and looked this morning. That's not a huge number. But if I use any of the scoring tools that are out there to see how well I score on Twitter, my score is very, very, very high. Because the people who do follow me are very influential, because they have thousands of followers. And the hope is I say something on Twitter that they pick up and then send to their thousands of people. Does that make any sense? So it's about influence. Social media metrics, some of you have to measure it. I work for Brian Delphi, as many of you guys know. He's a CPA, and I always paint him as a complete pain in the butt. Because he loves numbers, he loves metrics. So the reality is, people like that, COO, CFO, CEO, they're going to want metrics. But I also think having metrics, measuring, is the only way that you can get on a path of sustainable results, where you measure, tweak, right? So that's what some of these metrics are important. What to measure, this was in Wayne's session this morning. Here are some of the tools you can measure from social media. How many people read your blog? That's an easy one to get. But I love the next one, content contribution. How many people actually comment on your blog? Because it's one thing if people read it, it's another thing if they engage. And social media is all about dialogue. That's where Web 2.0 is different than Web 1.0. Web 2.0 is we put content out there and we hope you share it, we hope you contribute to it, we hope you iterate on it. Look at how many people have you in Delicious or Dig. How many of you use Delicious? Only a couple. Maybe we'll squeeze Delicious in. So Delicious is social bookmarking. And I'll show it to you real fast. It's easier than explaining it. We'll go to delicious.com. How many people subscribe to your blog? How many times people email content from your site? Do any of you have the little button on your website, email a friend? Have you seen that on CNN.com? You read an article you like, you say email a friend. So I'll show you how to put that on your site. Who's talking about you, and how many people are reading your profile, like on LinkedIn. And there's a lot of tools you can use to measure this stuff. Twitter Grader gives you a score. How good are you on Twitter? Facebook Grader. You can monitor yourself with sites like Vault and Glassdoor. The key here, though, it's not as clean as accountants would like. Because in the old marketing strategies, we would say, well, we mailed out 1 million pieces with this code, 1,000 people called us with a code number, 10 actually bought, and now we can calculate return on investment. Brian loves that. Brian Delphi loves that. It doesn't work with social media. Social media is a moving target. And I think the key here is traditional media is about velocity. How fast did you get your message out once? Social media is about acceleration, velocity over time. How much did you get your message out, and then in a week it was out more, and in 2 weeks it was out more, and you reached more and more and more folks. So there's a time component there.